It's a great pleasure to speak before you today about one of the most common and powerful emotions we humans experience: dread. Dread is an overwhelming feeling of fear or anxiety that we experience when we anticipate something bad happening. It's a feeling that can be debilitating and can make us feel helpless and vulnerable. But the good news is that we can overcome it. In this presentation, I'm going to talk about the feelings of dread and how to overcome them. First of all, it's important to understand that dread is a natural emotion that all humans experience. It's a response to a perceived threat, whether it's real or imagined. For example, if you're about to give a speech in front of a large audience, you might experience feelings of dread because you're afraid of making a mistake or embarrassing yourself. Similarly, if you're waiting for the results of an important exam or medical test, you might feel a sense of dread because you're afraid of what the results might reveal. However, it's important to recognize that dread can be irrational. We often exaggerate the potential consequences of a situation, which can make the feelings of dread even more intense. For example, you might dread going to a job interview because you're convinced that you'll make a fool of yourself and ruin your chances of getting the job. But the reality is that the interview is just one step in the process, and even if you don't get the job, it's not the end of the world. So, how do we overcome feelings of dread? The first step is to acknowledge and accept the feeling. It's natural to feel anxious or fearful when we're facing a difficult situation, but we need to recognize that these feelings are temporary and will pass. We can't control our emotions, but we can control our reactions to them. The second step is to challenge our thoughts. When we experience feelings of dread, our minds tend to focus on the worst-case scenario. We imagine all the things that could go wrong and convince ourselves that they will. But this kind of negative thinking only reinforces the feelings of dread. Instead, we need to challenge these thoughts and ask ourselves whether they're really true. Are we catastrophizing the situation? Are we overestimating the potential consequences? By examining our thoughts more objectively, we can often see that they're not as accurate or helpful as we thought. The third step is to take action. One of the best ways to overcome feelings of dread is to take action and confront the situation head-on. This might mean practicing for a speech, preparing for an interview, or seeking help for a medical issue. By taking action, we're sending a message to ourselves that we're not powerless in the face of our fears. The fourth step is to practice self-care. When we're experiencing feelings of dread, it's easy to neglect our physical and emotional needs. But taking care of ourselves is essential for managing our emotions. This might mean getting enough sleep, eating healthy foods, exercising, or talking to a friend or therapist. In conclusion, dread is a powerful emotion that we all experience at some point in our lives. But it's important to remember that we can overcome it. By acknowledging and accepting our feelings, challenging our thoughts, taking action, and practicing self-care, we can manage our emotions and move forward with confidence.